Hi there, and thanks for joining me for another video. My name is Erin Eno, and today I'm going to show you how to create this fun painting of a shoreline with footprints in the sand. So grab your paints and let's get started. So before we jump in, as I always do, I'll quickly run through my materials for you. I'm using Baohong Academy watercolor paper, which is 140 pound and it's 100% cotton. I have Van Gogh paints in my palette. I have my water jar, paper towel handy, and for brushes, I've grabbed my Princeton Snap 1-inch wash and 3 Princeton Snap rounds, one in a size 12, size 4, and 2. So to start, I'm going to take my number 12 and just create a light wash for the sand. And I'm just going to use burnt sienna because I don't want to fuss around with a lot of mixing on this and trying to match colors. I'm just trying to keep it simple. So just get a very light wash, okay, by getting pigment off my brush, getting a nice light wash, and I'll just start doing some kind of squiggly line to indicate the edge of the water where the foam is going to be. Okay, so it just just make it kind of wibbly and wobbly. I can't speak today. And wonky. Okay, because it's just kind of an organic kind of shape. Like so. Actually, maybe I'll just poke it in a little more there. And we can adjust that later. Oh, sorry, another material that you're going to need, because I forgot to mention. Just bear with me. I want to get the sand in before it goes all streaky on me. So while that's drying, I'll just talk about the material that I forgot to mention, because I tried to do this with the bubbly kind of wave, crest of the wave, without using masking fluid and just by doing painting around the foam, but it just wasn't working. So I will be using my Dr. P.H. Martin bleed proof white. If you don't have that, you can use any white. You can use white gouache, white poster paint, or even white acrylic. So now I'm going to go in with the wash of the sand again, and we're going to go above that line that we just did, and we're just going to create that foam crest shape. It can be a little darker actually. So another squiggly line. And like I say, we can, if you're not happy with it, we can fuss around with this more with the white paint. Okay, so it's going to be thick in some spots and thinner in others. But that's basically the idea. And I'm also going to turn my board and draw this sand color down. So while this is still fairly wet, I'm going to take my number 2 brush and just get a darker value of this sand color. Okay, and I'm just going to follow this crest line just to create a little bit of a shadow. And I want to do it while it's still wet because I want to be able to kind of feather it out a bit. So I'm going to rinse off this brush, still with the number 2, and just kind of drag my brush along it, feather it out. Okay. Now I want to make sure I don't get a weird bloom edge on that, so I'm going to tap up some of the water just so it doesn't dry all funky on me. Okay, and I'm also going to speed this up with the hairdryer, so I'll be right back. So I'm going to go in with my number 4 brush, and I'm going to get just another light wash of the sand color on my brush, and we'll start laying down where the footprints are going to go. So I think I was about to say, I like to just turn my board a little bit because I get a better idea of the shape of the footprints. So we'll start off with one here. I'll just do a couple, and then I will speed up the video so we don't draw this out too long. So we'll do a left footprint right about here. Three, 4, 5 toes. And bring this out a little bit more. Okay, so we have our footprints established. They don't need to be very dark, but we will be highlighting those a little later. So while those dry, I'm going to go in and make this just a little bit darker and fade it out again. So I would rather do this in stages and layers than have it too dark to begin with, which is why I'm, going back in to do this. So I'm going to wait till this dries, and then we'll go back and add some more shading to the crest and the feet. Okay, so now that this layer is dry, I just wanted to point out that I'm doing this based on the sun being over here. So all the shadows are going to be on this side of any of the, the water and the footprints. So as the sun hits it from this side, there is a little bit of a highlight on this outside part of the feet. That's what I found when I was looking at all my reference photos. So I'm going to try to obtain that. And how I'm going to do that is I'm going to take another wash of the sand, which is why we did the first coat so lightly. Okay, because I don't want the sand going crazy dark on us. Okay, so I'm going to take, like I say, another wash layer of this sand. That's a little light. I'm using my bigger brush because I want a fair amount of water on there because I want to blend this out. And then finish it off with the wash brush. Okay, so going to the wash brush, I'm going to drag this down a bit. Like so. And then finish it off by putting a light wash of this sand over the whole thing. So now that that layer is in there, this is when I'm going to go and try to go in and pick up that highlight that would be on the outside of the footprints. So I'm going to clean off my number 2 brush, dab it on my paper towel, and just try to pick up a bit of that pigment from that second wash, just to create that highlight. Okay, so to speed this up, I'm also going to take the hairdryer to this layer. Okay, so now that that's dry, I'm going to go in with a slightly darker color of the sand. And we're going to start putting in the more defined shadows. So the shadow will be on this top edge of the feet. And I'm going to go in and feather this out a bit. So I'm just going to do a couple of feet at a time. So then I'm going to rinse off my brush, tap it on my paper towel, and just feather these shadows out, like so. This one got a little lost, so I'm just gonna pick up some pigment from the outer edge. Okay, and then to accentuate that highlight a bit, I think I'm just gonna put the tiniest amount of the sand color just to pick up that highlight a bit. So I'll just feather it out, you know, so it just looks like little kind of deeper portions of the sand. I don't want it, you know, to be real drastic here, but I just want that highlight to stand out just a little bit more than it is. So that'll just help kind of accentuate it a bit. And then I'm going to go in with darker pigment of the sand and just on the very outer edge, put a darker shadow. Again, I'll just do a few feet at a time. Rinse and dry off my brush and just soften this edge up. Okay, you can even kind of feather it out a bit so the edge isn't so harsh. Like so. So now that we've still got the sand color kicking around, I'm just gonna, still with my number 4 brush, just gonna put a few light dots of the sand color in the wave kind of bubbles. And then a darker shade just to define this shadow even more. I'm just going over this with some water just so I can soften that edge a little bit. Okay, and I'm also going to take my number 2 and get a very light wash of the watercolor that I'm going to use, which is a mixture of Viridian with some cobalt blue. I just wanted a kind of turquoisey kind of water, and I'm just going to put it on the edge of this. It's going to be so faint, you may not even be able to see it very well, but I just want this not to look so flat. So it's almost like a shadow, but I didn't want to use like a, you know, a gray or anything. I just wanted it to have a bit of a blue tinge to it. Just tapping it up kind of here and there. So that's that. And then we're going to go in and put in some water. So I'm going to turn my board upside down and I'm going to mix just a light wash of my sea color. And it's going to go right over top of the sand, just so it looks like the water is kind of over the sand in the shallow areas. So again, following that foam line, like so. And don't sweat it, like I say, if you mess this up too, because we can fix up anything with that white paint later. Okay, and I'm going to wash this down. Okay, then we're going to go in with a deeper color. So you can see how it looks like it's shallow water over the sand. So I'm going to let this dry and then we'll finish off the water. Okay, so now that that's dry, I'm going to go in and finish off the water, which I need to mix a little bit more of. And we're just going to put it in full strength up here. And then fade it out down to the shoreline. Okay, so before the water dries completely, I'm going to take my number 12 brush, rinse it off. You can use a smaller brush. I like my number 12. It's got a decent point on it. So I'm just going to drag it through the water just to kind of create some highlights. Kind of ripply effect in the water. So what this does is it just kind of blooms the pigment away, and I should just get these nice little highlights. Just like so. I don't want to overdo it so it looks all weird, but I just wanted to put a little movement in the water, if you know what I mean. There, so that should do it. I don't want to go nuts. Okay, so now that this is completely dry, now I'm going to go in and do the frothy sea foam with my white ink, or white, sorry, I keep calling it an ink because that's when we used this in college, we called it white ink. So I don't even really know what it is because they just call it bleed proof white. So that's what it is. So I'm going to use my number 4 brush. Okay. and we'll just start tapping in some sea foam. So this is kind of forgiving, so we can just kind of make this existing edge a little, you know, a little more rough and kind of bubbly. So I'm just tapping in this white. So you're just going to do kind of squiggly, lacy lines. And because it's pretty organic, it's pretty forgiving. Okay, so I think that does it. I don't want to overdo this. I could do it from now till, you know, the end of time. So let's remove the tape, which is the fun part, and reveal our painting. So there it is. There is your finished footprints in the sand painting. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, guys, and that you picked up some tips along the way. If you did enjoy it, please like and share. Also, for more beginner-friendly tutorials, please subscribe and hit the notification bell to know when I have new tutorials up. And follow me on Instagram for more. And if you do any of my tutorials, please post your work there and tag me on them so I can see how you guys are doing. Okay, so that's it for now, and take care. I hope to see you back soon.